Hey folks, welcome back to Hopped Up Beer Review. Tonight, we're going to go visit our friends at Other Half Brewing. This one's out of Brooklyn, New York. It's the Canal Street, which has a fun story. Stick around.
Hey everybody, welcome to Hopped Up Beer Review, the show where we give your unprofessional and somewhat biased opinion about the beer that we are drinking and reviewing. We are back to do it once again. Thank you for joining us. I've got Andy in the attic. I've got Jay. I am Ben. What are we drinking today, gentlemen?
Canal Street
Canal Street.
by Other Half Brewing. It's exciting. An Imperial IPA.
Right. Have you had this one, Jay?
I have.
Right.
I have had this one before. I didn't know if we were going to be drinking it. It's got some flocculence in there. So at the time, it was one of those where it was up in the air if we were going to sample this one or others. So I didn't want it to go bad.
It's fair. It's fair.
Yeah.
Which means I'll have to prepare my call on first strategy here since you've already had it.
Yeah.
Cheers, mates.
Cheers, mates.
Cheers, mates.
Yummy, yummy. Just love some Other Half.
As Jay said, it's an Imperial IPA, 8.0%. It's also double dry hopped. And I'm going to read what their description said, because it'll play a part in the name. We were running low on Citra, Simcoe, and Cashmere hops to make this beer, so we popped on down to Canal Street and found some Citro, Samco, and Cashmere with a K for a great price. They look legit. It has notes of fruit gummies, pineapple, sweet orange, and lychee. Now, Ben, I had to look this up. Ben, after having been a resident of New York City, Jay being, an established traveler, do you know the reference to the Canal Street and the description?
Yeah, we talked about it before.
Yeah.
I mean, Ben's the one who clued us in on the.
We talked about it. I don't remember.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. One time I worked for probably about 3 years, almost 4 years. I worked about 2 blocks from Canal Street, just south of Canal Street on Franklin. It might have been 3 or 4, but very familiar with that area of town. There are a lot of counterfeit goods sold on Canal Street. And basically, in my experience, you can walk to just about any corner and somebody will ask you if you're looking for a certain kind of purse or jewelry, etc. Sometimes they have it there on the street. Normally, if it's a purse or something like that, then they'll take you to a store, and then they'll take you to like a back room through a hidden wall or something. It's actually pretty crazy. I think I told at least Jay and Andy, I think you heard the story too, that my wife and her sister were looking for a purse one time, and it's like they're like, well, come on, and they get in the back of a van, and I'm like, that's just insane. They can just take off, and
I remember that story.
Yeah. So this all happens on Canal Street. And even though, I mean, it's a great area of Manhattan. That's the area of town where we stayed the last time we went to Manhattan. We stayed on Canal Street at the Sheraton there about 5 years ago. But we lived in the general area in Tribeca, so lots to do around there. there's a great little pub. I'm going to mention this now. It may not be there much longer. Called Nancy Whiskey. It's about a block or two south of Canal Street. Just a dive bar, jukebox. Just a great little hole in the wall type spot if you're in that area. So.
And then, we talked about other half. They have the multiple locations and breweries. Most of the other half that I get, it comes from the DC tap room and brewery. This one actually came from DC, but they transport beer back and forth. And on their coolers, they have notations with the description like Andy read, but it'll tell you whether it's a Brooklyn or a DC or a Philadelphia, or in a special case for another one that we have coming. They do an annual festival called Green City, which is usually up in the New York and the DC and around the Philadelphia tap rooms that they have, and they do special brews just for those. So that one will be fun. That I think is a TIPA coming up soon. But yeah.
All right. What else we got, Andy? Is that?
Yeah, y'all said most of it. Yeah, I having not been there, I was just imagining, and when you said, yeah, I was because when I read it, it was like open air stalls and bare bone stores. So if you go in the store, there's not much in there, and like you said, I didn't know a hidden wall or
Yeah, it's
sketch.
So yeah, I went a couple of times with my wife, just because somebody was in town and they wanted to go get a cheap knockoff purse or jewelry of some sort. So we go down there, and it's what you think of or what I think of, when you're walking down the street and you're constantly um, bombarded by people trying to get you to come. Hey, come look at this. Come, we got this stuff. We got that stuff. So it's not a part of town that you want to necessarily go through if you aren't interested in that kind of stuff. I can remember, at lunch, walking, there was, might be a restaurant that I'd want to go to. And I'd have to pass, across Canal Street because it runs east west. So I, was going north. And it's just like, for a whole block on either side, like you're just getting like, hey, we got, so it was one place that you only went if you had to, especially as somebody who lived there. Now I will say though, like, if you're going to get any kind of Chinese food, because it's really close to Chinatown as well.
Through Chinatown.
Yeah. That's where you want to be as well. For that kind of stuff for sure. So it's just, one of the interesting parts of New York City. One of the things that I'll never forget about living there.
So what are the prices actually like?
Oh, they're, sub $100 for a purse that supposedly looks like, a $2,000 purse or, something like that. So, and there you can haggle with them too, because, these things are all, they probably make them for about $8. Yeah. So, it's all mostly profit. They did have a big bust there. And I'm sure they do that periodically, just to keep things in check. I remember when I was there, they had a big bust. And, I think, I don't know necessarily that I saw it happen. I just remember hearing about it and reading about it in the paper, where they confiscated so many, millions of dollars worth of counterfeit goods, and kind of cleaned it out. And I'm sure within a few days it was right back to normal. But all right, so Jay's had this one. Andy, you have not. I have not.
Have I not?
Have you not? You said no.
No, I haven't.
I actually split it with a buddy of mine when he was in town.
All right, I'll jump in there and go first on this one. Much like the other half that we've had, this one is really, really good. I really like this one a lot for an IPA. Being not the IPA guy, this is one that I would pick up periodically and drink if it was available to me. I think that, one, knowing that I have kind of lived this somewhat, I love the label, of course. in the story behind it. But the beer itself, it is very smooth for an IPA. There's little to no bitter, maybe just a touch on the back end, but not enough that it's going to bother me at all. This one, it's just smooth, and it is a great IPA. I'm going to give this one an 8.5. I really, really like it.
Wow.
So, Andy, what do you think?
Smooth and refreshing for an 8.0. To say something that's 8.0 is refreshing. I mean, it is. It tastes lighter than the 8.0, but that bright citrus and tropical feel that you get from it, it is very satisfying. And I was drinking it kind of fast, so I got to slow down. But it is aromatic. It hits everything you want out of like a hazy type, and I give it an 8.5 too. It's solid.
It's easy to drink fast when you're not the one doing the talking, right? I mean,
Yeah.
It's a good point. Why did I get this role?
So this one to me, it held a special place. I was sitting there looking at the entire counter of beer that they have, most 4-packs. Uh, so I grew up on Canal Street, so that's the kind of the reference to me. I was like, wow, that's really cool. I didn't know the reference to New York at the time. I was really thinking more maybe something like New Orleans, like we talked about, Andy. But yeah, I'm glad you made that connection there for us, Ben, with your personal knowledge of it and experience. It's a neat story. I like the label like you. The beer to me is great. It's great the first time I had it. It's great this time. It's all the things you guys said. The citrus comes across. The two things to me that stand out. It's really soft. If you could call a beer kind of soft and creamy, it's like that to me. And maybe that's the refreshing ease of almost crushable, like you would say, Andy. I mean, drink fast. Um, I could have a couple of these, which would be dangerous, but I'd love to get more of it if I ever see it. Um, and I'll be back in that area very soon. Um, so yeah, this was an 8.5 for me. So very good.
Mm.
all right. Cue the fireworks. That is going to be an 8.5 for the Canal Street from Other Half Brewing. Definitely a great beer from Other Half. And I think we were just talking about this in the break that we think this was the first Other Half beer to be on the Wall of Fame. There was one other that was a collaboration with another brewery, but this is the first one for us. So we've had a lot that have been very close. So what I'm trying to say is, if you are out there and you see any Other Half, you need to grab it. If you're on Canal Street though, and you're in a back room and you see some Other Half, we can't guarantee that it will be Other Half. It could be a knockoff. So just beware of that. Definitely appreciate you checking out this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, cheers that notification bell. It is free to do. We would definitely appreciate that. If you have any interest in any of Hopped Up Beer Review merch, I'm skipping around, Jay, keeping you on your toes. Jay showing off some there. We got some things. We got a link down below. Check us out on all social media links down below. Come say hey in our Hopped Up Beer Review Discord server. It's a chat room, and the three of us are there, along with some others who have watched the show and joined us. And then lastly, if you have any interest in any of the equipment or the glassware that we have purchased, we have some links down there for that. Yeah, there we go. So check that out if you are interested in that. For Andy in the Attic and Jay, I am Ben. Cheers, mates.
Cheers, mates.